Now, what I want to show you is that this is a day that the apostles were very, very excited about seeing come to an end. How many of you, and I'm not going to go deep into eschatology here because I know it's one of the most controversial discussions in the church, and I'm only prepared to go so deep with that discussion. There's two things that get you in a lot of trouble really fast: eschatology and the tithe. In the Grace Church. You can do about anything you want in the Grace Church, but if you touch the tithe and eschatology, you're on your own, brother. We'll meet you later after the fight. Or we won't. We'll just be gone. We'll tell you we'll meet you and then we'll be gone. And you can just do that all by yourself. So I'm not going to mess with anyone's eschatology, but how many of you, whatever your eschatology is, how many of you will admit that the New Testament writers were obsessed about the end? Yes. I mean, everywhere you turn, it's the end. We're right on the end. It's at hand. It's around the corner. It's coming up. It's shortly come to pass. So whatever your argument is about where that falls, we cannot argue that they believed something was coming to an end. That's right. Okay? They believed they were at the end of an experience. And I don't think they meant the end of their lives. There's no reference in any of the Old Testament writings that end of days meant end of my days. It meant something bigger. And even for the New Testament writers, it meant something bigger. I want to get into that. Go to Hebrews chapter 8. I'm going to lead you into a passage in Hebrews. It's one of my favorites. To get you there, I want to lead up with just a couple of what I like to call salad in front of the steak. All right? A couple salad verses in front of the steak. Hebrews chapter 8, verse 4. If Jesus were on the earth, he would not be a priest. Why wouldn't he be a priest? Because he was from the wrong tribe. Since there are priests who offer gifts according to the law, Jesus wouldn't have offered it according to the law. Those priests serve the copy, verse 5. They serve the copy and the shadow of the heavenly things, as Moses was divinely instructed when he was about to make the tabernacle. For he said, see that you make all things according to the pattern shown you on the mountain. So admittedly, how many of you can admit that according to Hebrews chapter 8, verse 5, the tabernacle was a shadow and a pattern? It was not the real deal. Oh, it was a real tabernacle. You could touch it. You could smell what was happening, but it wasn't real. In the eyes of God, it was a copy, it was a shadow, it was a pattern, and copies, shadows, and patterns don't last forever. So it was never meant to last forever. And no, it wasn't up until the temple, because the reference here is not just to the tabernacle, it's to a lineage of priests. And the priests kept going past the tabernacle on into the temple. So it had nothing to do with not having stone foundations. So according to Hebrews, we can all agree, according to Hebrews, the tabernacle was just a shadow, just temporary. The other one, the real one, was from somewhere else. Correct? Yeah. Hebrews chapter 9, verse number 23. Here's a therefore. We need to find out what it's there for. I'll tell you what it's there for. You can read it on your own when you get home. Almost all things, according to the law, are not purged without blood. They're all got to be purged with blood. Why? Because without the shedding of blood, well, we all know that verse. You know without the shedding of blood there is no remission. Well, it's in Leviticus, but it's repeated in Hebrews. And the very next verse is this one. Hebrews chapter 9, verse 23. Therefore, it was necessary that the copies of the things in the heavens should be purified with these, but the heavenly things need to be purified with better sacrifices. So as long as there was a tabernacle and a temple, which everybody says is a shadow, right? According to Hebrews 8, it's just a shadow. It's not the real deal. It's just a shadow. As long as they're just copies, they can be purified with a lesser blood. But if we're gonna take care of the real deal, we're gonna have different blood. We're gonna have to change the rules. We got to do things differently. So he says, it was necessary that the copies be purified with these, but the heavenly things with a better sacrifice, for Christ has not entered the holy places made with hands, which are copies of the true. The Greek word there for copy is representations. They are representations of the real thing, but into heaven itself now to appear in the presence of God for us. So what the author of Hebrews is saying is that Jesus never went into the actual holy place when he was on the earth. Why? Because he was from the wrong tribe. He was from Judah. He wasn't from Levi. He was not a priest, so he wasn't allowed to go back there. By back there, I mean behind the veil into the Holy of Holies. He wasn't allowed to go in. It had to be one of the priests. So Jesus never walks into the temple as a priest on the earth because he wasn't allowed to. But he had a better temple. That was just a shadow temple anyway. In fact, what did Jesus say about that temple? He said, your temple is about to be left unto you desolate. I'm going to knock it down. It's even going to be knocked down. Then he spoke of his own body. This temple is going to go down in the 3 days. I'm going to raise it back up. But when you see your temple compassed about with armies, you're going to know that your house has been left unto you desolate, and you've arrived at the day of vengeance. And not one stone is going to be left unturned.
That's right.
Do you know why there's no temple in Jerusalem to this day? Because Jesus knows how to prophesy.
That's right.
And it ain't coming back. And do you know why it ain't coming back? Because you're here.
Yes.
His whole intent was never have Adam make me a building and I'll live in it. Where do we get this? No, that was a shadow. His whole intent was make Adam live in Adam.